Hello, dear viewer. I'm going to let you in on one of my favorite little geopolitical secrets. We have to start with a bit of context. A couple of days ago, India announced that it sealed a Brahmos export deal with Vietnam. And this is after the Philippines already bought it and Indonesia is in the final stages of importing this missile as well. We all know who they're getting the missile for. It's to deter China, which all three of them have disputes with in the South China Sea. Okay, now here's where it gets really saucy. The Brahmos is an Indian-Russian 50-50 joint venture. And part of that deal is that anytime the Brahmos is exported anywhere, both India and Russia have to sign off on this. Think about this for a second. Southeast Asian countries that are trying to deter China are importing a joint Indian-Russian supersonic cruise missile. And this reveals one of my favorite details about the China-Russia partnership. Now, for those of you who follow the mainstream media narratives, you might be thinking, why would Russia do this? Aren't they brothers with China in an eternal struggle against the United States of America? But you misunderstand the nature of that relationship. Yes, Russia is heavily dependent on China, and that's part of the problem. China has a few more options right now than Russia does, and if it were up to China, they would expand that space even more, giving themselves more control, more access of the South China Sea and the trade routes leading up to the Indian Ocean, so that they can just dictate terms to Russia, and if Russia refuses, China can cut them loose with no problems, which would suck for Russia. So interestingly enough, it's in Russia's best interest to ensure that China doesn't get too strong or expand too much in the South China Sea, so that they have to maintain this uneasy symbiotic relationship with Russia for its resources. And Russia's been trying really hard. They keep saying, we've been trying to convince the Chinese for years to ditch the dollar and just use a yuan-backed payment system. And this sounds great if it's a yuan-backed payment system for China, right? But in reality, this would cut China out completely from the West and from any Western-influenced countries in Southeast Asia, in the Gulf. And it would mean that Russia has sealed China's fate as being dependent on Russia, which is why China has refused. They still are part of the global dollar system, even if they are cutting down their dollar holdings a little bit. And Russia's partner in crime to contain China has been for almost a century now, India. Notice how Russia is also quite anti-Pakistan and doesn't have a defense relationship with them. So while according to mainstream media, in the West especially, it looks like Russia and China are besties and that India is the odd one out, in reality, historically and even in the present, when it comes to a fight between India and China, Russia has always picked India, and I would argue it still might.